Welcome everyone to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Superman and Lois Season 1, Episode 14. It is called The Eradicator. So, full spoilers for the episode. It is the penultimate episode of the season. And it kind of felt like it, you know. I mean, admittedly, this season's had like maybe 4 episodes that could have been finales at this point.
Yep.
The last one, not included, that definitely felt like a transitional episode, but this one did feel like it was building up to a finale. So that is the apologies. This one's a bit later this week. We're not recording this until the Sunday at the time of recording.
Yeah, at work.
Scheduling.
Sucks.
Yes. So, here we are. So, where do we start? I guess we start with the titular Eradicator, I suppose, and everything going on with the former Morgan Edge. It seems like, because there is a time jump in this episode, they mention at least a few weeks have passed. And we actually cut to Morgan Edge, and he's still like at the sun, absorbing energy, and I'm like, oh, he's been here for a while. He's been here for weeks, just sucking this in.
That was right near the start, though, so I wasn't sure if that was maybe like before it. I don't know. Maybe he has just been there for weeks.
Well, it did it twice though, because it started with him doing that, and then it went back to him later when just before he came for Leslie earlier about.
Yeah.
So it gave the impression he'd been there for a while, just sucking in solar energy. And
I think it's been, I want to say, about a month. Was because they're talking about in regards to the DoD being in Smallville.
Yeah, it's like because it says something like, "Oh, it's been like 5 weeks since that all went down. Why are you still here?"
Yeah.
Which is one of the big talking points in the town. Businesses are shutting down. Newspaper that Lois works at, like the woman's ready to sell because she can't afford to run anything. Which isn't surprising given that it's one small town and her readership can be that large.
It's a print newspaper. None of them are that large.
Yeah, I presume she's got a website with some ads, but again, she's got maybe like, I don't know, a population of 150 or something.
And it's dwindling every day.
They're all leaving, and then Kyle and family are about to go as well, which
allegedly.
Allegedly, I don't really believe it yet either. I'm still convinced Kyle's probably going to snuff it,
and then Lara will just have to stay.
Yes, because it sounds like maybe they've not finished paying off their house yet, but they certainly they've got a mortgage at least, if not owning it, because they talk about offers on the house, so they are trying to sell. So presumably, if she is suddenly without a husband, she might actually need to rely on the fact that she already has a place to live, as opposed to relocating 2 kids and starting everything from scratch.
I would say even more of a priority is the fact that the place they're moving to is because Kyle has a job there.
That is also true. Yes, he got lucky. I think this subplot in the episode is a little up and down. There's like a few small things I like about it. There's some stuff that feels just a little bit like I'm just kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop, because I kind of appreciated that Sarah immediately is like, we're not moving. Like this is not happening.
Yeah, and that was obviously our assumption as well last episode. So.
Yeah, and her thinking that was immediately when we go, oh, they're at least going to tease it heavily. Then they're going to think they're moving because she said that.
Yeah, because she said that, it's clear that they're going to have to pull the rug from under her, and therefore us, theoretically.
Yes. So we have both Kyle and Lana have scenes where someone, and in Lana's case it's Clark, who comes and talks to her when he finds out that they're planning on moving and tries to talk her into staying. Kyle has a similar thing at the fire station. The woman who we've seen a couple of times that he works with sort of says, hey, no, just because I said that you shouldn't come in doesn't mean that I think you should leave. You stuck up for me when I first got here. No one thought there should be a woman here. So maybe, stay and fight. It gives him a bit of pep talk. Honestly, it's one of the better Kyle scenes.
It's a low bar, but yes.
It is a low bar, and largely it might be because he mostly shuts up and she does the talking, which might help it quite a bit.
That does, yeah.
Because the other scenes where, when Lana has her talk with Clark, there's a scene with her and Kyle in the kitchen where she's like, do you think we're maybe making a mistake in rushing into this? And he immediately goes, is that what Clark said? And it's like, oh my god, Kyle.
He's playing the like the jealousy card now. I'm like,
Yeah.
and that hasn't come up once all season.
I hope Kyle finds out he's Superman before he dies, just so that that insecurity, like the idea that her
It
ex,
just hurts.
yes, the idea that her ex from high school is the most powerful being on the planet, just to make him feel tiny. That would please me a little bit.
Yeah, that'll be nice.
It would please me just a little touch. But sure enough, even he's kind of coming around to the idea that maybe they shouldn't go. Maybe Smallville's their home, yada yada yada. But then he gets a job offer, and they go to tell the kids, and Sarah kind of reacts to it. Which was a kind of a mixed scene, I think. I kind of understood why she's upset about it, and I kind of appreciated her yelling at Kyle, and even Lana to an extent.
Nice. Yeah.
But at the same time, it was kind of like, you are being a bit of a teenager about this as well. At the same time, like you
Kind of not up to you.
Sorry.
Yeah, like it's kind of not up to you if you move or not.
Yeah, it was a little bit of the. I don't want to say forced. It wasn't forced.
It's just over dramatic.
Yeah. But she runs off to tell Jordan, who wants to. Well, this is the thing though. When they say where they're moving to, she's like, "That's 2 hours away," and I'm like, "Hey, 2 hours is not that, but like you can still hang out with Jordan on the weekend at a 2 hour journey. That's not."
Yeah,
that's not that extreme, especially if Jordan's super speed kicks in anytime soon. It's not going to be a factor.
That's what I think. So that's a not huge distance in our country. In America, that's like a train ride. That's nothing.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I don't think it's small. No, so it does have a train. We've seen the train station. There's a train in Smallville.
Don't you dare give me that shit. Of course it's got a train. Look, the one thing I know about America, for a fact, is every small town they got a train station. Their entire industrialization was built on the railway.
Yeah. So when she said it was 2 hours away, I thought, okay, hanging out after school's obviously not going to be a thing, but like. I mean, okay, I get it. You're teenagers. Your parents are going to let you stay for the weekend, right? Like, you're not going to be allowed to do that. But Saturday and Sunday feel pretty fair game.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're willing to make the trip twice, To
be honest, given that it's like, it's Clark and Lana, they probably would let them stay over for the weekend as well because, just how long they've known each other.
Yeah, they maybe trust them to, like, make sure she's staying in a separate room or whatever.
Yeah, they'll trust the other one enough.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was like, so later on in the episode when she tells Jordan all this and he starts to say, I don't want to lose you, we can call, we can do this, blah blah. I'm like, you can also see each other the weekend, which is not that like weird for a relationship, especially at this age. Like that's not
pretty normal, yeah.
It's not that weird. And although I did like the mirroring with Jonathan, where she brings up Jonathan's ex, who he was kind of trying to stay with briefly, long distance at the start. Again, very different to their distance, but and Jordan just says, "Yeah, but we're not them. I'm not him." I thought that was a nice point. That was a nice point. So yes, so mixed bag on that side of things. Again, I do feel like a lot of this is going to ultimately not matter that much once we get to wherever we're going destination wise.
Again, I still think it's a possibility that they move at the end of the next episode and then come back at the start of season 2.
I know that's also, yeah, we might get the tearful goodbye, and maybe they'll even keep them off the episodes for a few next season. And then...
Maybe that is how they do the get around the will they won't they between the two of them now is, they did break up over the summer because they couldn't do the long distance.
Because I could totally see them coming back in like episode 3 or something like that, like. Time has moved on, or like I could totally see them doing that. But so I'll save the last bit with the kids because obviously it's more tied to the main plot.
Yeah.
So yeah, the town's uneasy. They're making demands. There's a big town meeting. They want to speak to Sam Lane, and Lois is feeling a little bit guilty. She thinks they do deserve to know some stuff, such as, hey, Morgan Edge, that guy that almost killed everyone. Yeah, he's actually escaped and has been on the loose for the last, month. That does come up, and
it does, yeah.
The mother of one of the guys that Morgan Edge had turned into a Kryptonian and then died, or didn't die.
Yeah,
but
I think it's that first one who Like, way back, set them off on the whole thing.
So she shows up and starts saying, no, they're lying. There was all these things that Lois was investigating this, and she never quite gets to her point. Like, she never quite gets to finish because they hear about this, Edge coming up and saving Leslie at the base and whatnot. One of the civilians does make an interesting point though that I thought was a good point, which is, why are you still based in the middle of the main street of the town? Why not are you just based next to the mines where you're doing all this work?
It's a very fair point.
And I'm like, yeah, that's a good point. Why are you still in the middle of the main street? You could literally, I mean, it would probably be annoying for the Kents, but you could literally just be based off the side of their farm. They got a lot of land.
Look, Sam Lane is a very theatrical man.
but they're still in the middle of Main Street. It's weird. For no reason.
It is very weird, yeah.
They've still got little tents and, temporary structures set up. Is just a bit on the odd side, but whatever. Yeah, actually, there's a nice fun moment with Jonathan actually on the episode where he says he wants to learn some stuff from John Henry, and both Clark and Lois say, maybe you shouldn't be hanging out with him and learning this stuff. Maybe you should be doing normal stuff. And he just flat out says, look, stuff happens because we're, in this family. Other Kryptonians show up. I should be prepared, and I don't have superpowers. And Clark's like, okay, you're making too much sense. Go to school. I was like, yeah, he's got a lot of good points here, Clark.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't argue with it that much.
John Henry's having none of it, though. In fact, he's actually kind of annoyed that he's hanging around and asking questions about his family and getting tetchy when, because he says, oh, your daughter helped you build this? That's cool. I was like, no, it's not cool. Our childhood was stolen because we were in a crisis and everyone was dying. He's like, all right.
Yep, never mind.
Oh, dear. Jonathan, who is usually a highlight of the show, I do have to say, his stuff with the other girl who comes crawling back to him this episode, I'm not worried about it or anything like that, because I think that once it actually gets going, it'll just be fine. She'll just be the girlfriend, and maybe there'll be some interesting plots to come out of it. Especially if they actually do something with her father went to prison in Central City. Are we going to learn who her father is at some point? Is he going to be some old Flash villain?
Is she a latent mare?
She could be.
Like a second gen, yeah.
Could be. But it just everything with because I did like him calling her out when she was trying to pump him for information. Yeah, when she took him out to the windmill or whatever it was. But
it was a water tower.
Oh, the water tower, yeah. A structure out in a field.
I can't argue with that.
But then she comes crawling back in this episode. Oh, you got the wrong impression. I think just their courtship has been just a little bit linear, back and forth up until this point. It's just not been that exciting. So it was fine when they had the first couple of interactions, and then the last interaction was fine. This one just felt a bit weird that she was now she is really into him. And well, her reason for feeling like she relates to him because he's a loner and he's kind of the new guy and he doesn't fit in and he's having trouble, getting a new friend group and all that stuff. Okay, that stuff makes sense, and okay, we've learned something about her there. Maybe that'll become interesting, but as it is right now, I'm not necessarily all that sold on it.
I agree. It's not terrible. It's not the worst. It's just very, very bland.
And compared to a lot of the rest of the episode, and compared to most of the things that Jonathan tends to be involved in, I think it does stick out as being a little bit on the bland side. So that's what it is. The kids go to a party though. Sarah doesn't go because her ex-boyfriend's been a bit of a dick about things. She's like, no, you two should hang out, be brothers. I was going to hang out with my sister anyway, so here, you go do that. That's when all the finding out about the moving happens. Important to mention that they're at this party, mainly because they're there when Lois pops up on the news. And this is one of these things that's very choreographed. You can kind of see they're going to mimic the footage of Lois dying on the other Earth, and it's going to appear to be about to happen. And obviously, you expect her to be saved, but they're going to do the whole...
it's going to turn different, but the moment... I still think that's one of the best moments of this show so far. Is this moment where, she's up on the roof and the camera comes out and you kind of go, oh shit, that's this moment.
Yeah, no, I like it as well. I think so far, I don't know how positive or negative we've sounded on this episode, and I think because we've not spoken about all the actual action stuff of the episode yet, is maybe why it maybe sounds a little bit in the softer side. And I think it's because the best stuff in this episode actually is the big spectacle. I think the fight, once it gets going in Metropolis, where, Eradicator and Leslie are there, Steel and Superman go off to confront them, and of course they reveal that they've actually converted I think 3 humans into Kryptonians, and they start flying out. It's like, oh shit, it's like now it's 5-on-2, so it's a bit more of a fight.
They
now
just come out of the crowd behind them.
Yeah, now Eradicator can just do this to people. It doesn't take as much kidnapping and prep and whatever. So no, but it's a fun fight. There's getting knocked into buildings. There's all sorts of stuff.
Not in a cheap way. They're very intentionally trying to cause damage.
Yeah, the bad guys are. Yeah, they're trying to make as much chaos as possible. Obviously, our heroes are trying to avoid it, but Eradicator's got a couple of extra powers. It's even debatable if he has all the base Superman powers. I don't remember from the comics if he does. I don't think he does. But
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, but we'll see. But maybe they'll change it here because he's come from a Kryptonian. He started Kryptonian, so he still has all those powers. He may just do that.
It's very possible.
Yeah. But no, I think the Lois moment where Lois is reporting on the story, warning everyone that this is happening. I will say that the camera woman did not look a camera woman. She looked like another reporter. They just happened to be holding a camera.
Yeah. I think that's what the idea was, is that but she'd gone up there on top of the building with the camera because she was like, well, I need to capture this while I'm here.
Yeah. That's fair.
Then Lois shows up, I was like, yeah, you do your thing.
Yeah. No, I mean, that was a specific way that a camera person has to look, but she looked like she was in a fancy suit, like she was meant to be on camera herself.
Mm-hmm.
But she just happened to be holding the big chunky camera. And was like, yeah, I'll report. Give me a mic. Let's do it.
Yeah.
But the moment's good. The kids getting to watch this, knowing what might be about to happen, is great. The reactions of them and anyone else watching, because I think it cuts to Lana and Kyle as well, and they react to it, which is a neat moment. But the best part about it is that Steel gets to be the one who saves her. It's a nice sort of moment for him that he gets to save this Lois. It does the thing as well where he's fighting another Kryptonian, well, another one of the humans turned Kryptonian, and he throws the hammer and he's like, "You missed," and it's like, "No, I didn't miss. That's not aimed at him." So it's a nice moment. I think the action feels quite big. It does feel like it's building to a climax, and for the most part, I didn't notice any cringeworthy effects during this section.
No, they weren't like mind blowing or anything, but they all looked solid enough.
I think it mostly came out looking pretty solid, and
that's a win on this level of a show.
Oh, for sure.
And let's say this moment landed for me because obviously we saw this moment with Lois on the other Earth a few times now. I didn't realize it was as visually distinct as it ended up being. Like in my head, it's just that was the bit where Lois died anyway. Or obviously you remember Superman doing it. But as soon as the camera came up and you're like, oh, this is that rooftop. Immediately it was like, oh, this is the same shot that I hadn't realized had stuck with me. So that was pretty clever.
Yeah, no, it worked really well because you knew exactly where it was going. The second you saw the camera sitting there, it was obvious that they were going to do it. Yeah,
I also think that's because I think that was one of the best ones, and Lois had another really good small moment that we overlooked during the town hall meeting, where the other mother's going, "Oh, you don't know what it's like to lose a child," and Lois is just up there and just looks just so uncomfortable. Like the whole scene just switches at that line,
and she just says, "I'm sorry." She doesn't correct her because some people might feel the need to go, "I actually know I do," and get angry at that suggestion, but she just not wanting to talk about that, not wanting to steal the thunder, or just being understanding as to why this woman feels this way, so doesn't feel the need to measure pain. Whether that's not the point.
It's one of those things that we set up probably about halfway through the season, and it's not been like a constant thing, but just every so often it just comes up, and not in a really blatant way or anything. Just someone will say something and you go, oh, that's hitting her in a different way than what we would have assumed before. And every single one of those moments has landed.
No, it's been used really smartly throughout the season for sure, and it's something that will always have that extra bit of meaning for her when the subject happens to crop up.
Yeah.
And even at the end of the episode when Jordan's in danger because he's been kidnapped, which we're about to get to, like even that, it would always be a big deal that your kid's been kidnapped, but the idea that this could be her losing her second child, it just adds this extra little tinge to it, which is because I couldn't decide really because I think as much as I like the Lois rooftop scene and that whole thing, I think my favorite scene is probably in the car. I think it's probably so Sam was looking for the kids. They don't respond to his call. Like, hey, we've got this super beeper. Nothing really bad's going down. And at this point, they don't know about the invasion. They don't see the news yet. Obviously, that comes later. And eventually, Sam shows up. Most of the things have already happened, but he shows up to pick them. I was like, hey, I've been looking for you two assholes. Get in the goddamn car. And they say, hey, can we take Sarah home at least? And he's like, yeah, sure. So they're all three of them are in the car with
I appreciate the touch of all the other kids at the party kind of just laughing at come and take it home.
Yeah, but I think it has a bit more heft to it when the guy coming to take them home is like this badass military dude who comes in the camo.
It does, yeah.
It feels like if any of you, because I think someone says something and they just sort of look really disturbed. Or maybe I think Sam says like, oh, a bunch of drunk teenagers, and like the three of the guys that are sitting on the couch all just start to look really like, oh, not us. Oh,
yeah, as if he gives a shit.
But they're in the car, and obviously Morgan Edge is flown off, and he just lands in front of the car, and they crash. And I love the tension in this scene. I think they really built this up as, they feel vulnerable. These four characters in this car feel vulnerable, and Sam's arms like completely wrecked. So he's like, "Hey, I'm going to need one of you boys to go into the glove compartment and get out this gun that's got kryptonite in it."
It's not a case of all secrets are off in front of Sarah, but it was a, hey, have you got your beeper? Like,
they mentioned the beeper, and obviously she says like, "Wait, what are you talking about?" And they don't address it because they're just too caught up in the moment trying to survive. It's too high stakes.
Worry about it later, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll think of an excuse later if they have to, or whatever. But he goes to make the shot. Morgan Edge flies up and just immediately rips the door off and grabs Jordan. Jordan says, "I love you," before he sweeps him away, and that's it. Jonathan tells her to go and get her dad, like run away immediately.
I don't know what Kyle's going to do, but
I think it was just so that he could use the beeper and get Superman.
I do as well.
Yeah, but so Superman of course shows up very quickly, and goes up into he looks around, he goes up and listens, does his best to locate him all of his super ways, and he can, and he has to go tell Lois. I think everything about this, we've teased Edge. And admittedly, this is not Edge anymore technically, but we've teased Edge coming after the kids, coming after the family before, and it felt very vulnerable. It was what made Superman kind of give in at that time. So doing this again when they're on their own, having characters who all season we've had Sam talk about the precautions that they need to take for Kryptonian potential villains and threats, and having that debate with Superman, but on top of that also having Jonathan. He
has a gun with a kryptonite bullet in his car.
Oh sure, but also Jonathan, who has been talking about how he can't protect himself unless he uses weapons, unless he learns from John Henry, which something was brought up this very episode. Jordan, who has tried to fight back with another Kryptonian and is not able to because his powers just aren't there yet. So I feel like you have meaning for everyone but Sarah, understandably, because she's not as directly tied to this character. For these three characters, you have payoffs that this scene is sort of connecting to for all three of them based on their stories all throughout the season, which I think is really good.
What makes it even more interesting, for me at least, is this isn't Morgan Edge anymore. We're still calling him Edge, but it's not.
Yes, Eradicator.
There is no personality there, but I think that's important to distinguish here in that if this had been Morgan Edge going for it, it would have felt malicious. It would have felt like he was doing it to spite Clark, payback, whereas with the Eradicator doing it now, it doesn't feel like it's to do it to get it feels like this is a resource.
Yeah, this is because Jordan's a potential good candidate for his stuff.
He's already halfway there.
That's, and it also makes you feel less malicious but more cold. Like this is more machine-like. This is more like a Terminator coming after you. And the way he stood there staring at them after the car crash was very menacing.
Right up until just the gunshot, and then he's gone. He just speeds off.
It was a very and that might have been because he figured that Sam might have some way to fight him, so he had to wait till he wasted the bullet. So he's just sort of like hanging around, lets Jonathan take a shot, gets out of the way because of course he can. He's super fast. They can.
It's a speeding bullet. That's kind of the whole shtick, right?
Yeah. You kind of have to catch him by surprise, maybe from behind or something, with that.
Yeah.
For that to work, but fair enough. He tried his best. So yeah, the episode ends with Eradicator just channeling something into Jordan, and it seems very obviously specific when we actually hear him speak. It's Edgy's father who's speaking through him, so we get the sort of double voice effect. All of this last like 5 minutes was basically perfect. Like, I mean, I can critique some of the character beats throughout the episode, but this last 5 minutes was great. And the only real concern I have is that Sarah's going to see Jordan do something really evil and awful and be scary whilst he's like, possessed effectively, and that's going to make her scared of him. And that could be a plot that might not be great to sit through. Not because, I mean, in a vacuum, there's a lot of great potential in that, but it's just because of how CW tends to handle those types of plots that I'm not excited about it. But this show is impressed us, so I won't assume the worst as of yet.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that last episode might have been one of the weakest of the season. Yeah, and it wasn't a bad episode by any means. Is very telling the overall quality of this. It's pretty great.
Yeah. So it's funny because I for a couple of episodes there, we were saying this feels like a finale. This feels like a finale. Like you could have ended it probably in two different places before we got to this point. But I think this, like I say, the payoff of Edge coming here and coming after Jordan feels like it is actually really connecting a lot of plot threads that have been building throughout the season in a way that I didn't feel like I needed. But now that they're happening, it feels really well written.
Yeah, it's that you didn't necessarily see them coming because they didn't feel like threads that needed immediate payoff. They were just, character arcs that were just kind of chugging away that could have gone on for, years. But bringing them all together at this point, it's like, oh, okay, this is hopefully going to be quite satisfying.
Yeah. The only question is are they going to end the season with something that's a bit of a downer or a cliffhanger, or are they going to make it more of a neat bow for the season and then...
Yeah, you could leave it that they don't have Jordan back straight away, or maybe they get him back, but he's in a coma, or something, anything like that.
I suspect they'll get him back, but yeah, we might still see the Langs leave, or
yeah.
My expectation is probably what a lot of like past seasons of some of the other shows have done, which is that the season plot will end, but there'll be like a teaser scene at the end that's actually setting up whatever the villain is for season 2. Or
you could do something like, they get Jordan back, but in the process it loses his powers, and he'll have to readjust after next season. That'll be him trying to readjust to not having them, and it'll be weird for him.
Alternatively, it might actually be what makes him have more control over them, and
it supercharges him essentially, and brings him up to speed, so to speak.
Yeah, maybe not giving him all the powers straight away. We may have to still go through the puberty of getting the extra powers one by one.
The Smallville of it, yeah.
The Smallville part of it, yeah. But at the very least, his heat vision and his strength and speed might start to be a bit more consistent and controllable. Which, it's one of those things where, as long as they don't drag it out too much, the moment where he catches a car or something in front of Sarah could be a big deal. Like it could be like a big moment. And maybe the the realization of who his dad probably is once it settles in and she processes the information and goes, wait a minute.
Hold up a second.
Yes. And honestly, that'd be the only good thing about Kyle staying alive past this season, is the eventual learning that he might find out Clark is Superman.
Oh, that'll be satisfying if that does happen.
Yeah. So that's good. Do you know what they could do next episode? Actually, I wonder if they do a Sarah makes Jordan snap out of it kind of moment where she's able to break through to him. Like, no one was going to let her try, obviously, but maybe she'll go rogue, do it on her own, thinking she can snap him out of it.
We know it's possible because John Henry got through to Clark.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, definitely could do that.
It depends how much she understands what's going on, or how much she even has an inkling to try. But if she does learn enough to be willing to take the leap of faith and try and do it, then it could be a really good scene if that's what they do. But we'll see. Finale, of course. I would say next week, but it's actually, by the time you get this review, it'll be tomorrow night it airs. So we'll have the finale review as quickly as we can. But that is the finale coming up. So it's been a pretty solid season so far. I'm really curious to see how they end it. And we can look forward to season 2, which has already been renewed for. So there's no concern or worrying or any of that. We can just feel good about things. So of course, Stargirl is back. So if you're interested in Stargirl, also keep note of the fact that we're reviewing that too. So
yeah, we've said a few times over the course of this show that we really liked season 1, and
we did.
This gave us hope for season 2 of Stargirl being on CW. In particular, the quality of this one proved that they don't all have to just be Arrow and Flash.
Yeah, and not CW, but Doom Patrol's back next month as well. So, yeah, so there is actually 3 good DC shows at the moment, which is nice. And I'm sure Legends is still fun. Like I do intend on binging the rest of that at some point.
It's probably still just as great as it ever was, but in a very different way to these other shows.
Yeah. So, yes. But yeah, let us know what you thought of this penultimate episode of Superman and Lois in the comments. Like and subscribe, ding the bell for notifications. All that helps us out a lot. It helps out all YouTube channels, which is why they all tell you to do it. So I know you're sick of hearing it, but click the buttons. You can, of course, go over to patreon.com/MelloFuzzTV and support us for as little as $1 per month and help keep all the content coming. So go and have a look at that as well, please. But otherwise, that is. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV. Have you got any vanilla?